Hi, this is Curious Mystics Podcast, formerly Spiritual Mamas Podcast. Together we explore the mysteries of the spiritual world, sometimes boldly,
Sometimes cautiously.
but always with open hearts
and curious minds.
Let's go. Hello.
Hello.
How is everybody? It is Erica.
And Kim.
Of Curious Mystics Podcast.
How you doing today, Erica?
I'm doing good. I have been noticing, and I grew up in Ohio, and in Ohio, when I was little, we used to have a ton of fireflies in the summer. And I don't know if that was like that here. Like, was it in Connecticut? Were there a lot of fireflies when you were little?
In some parts of Connecticut, yeah.
Okay. So I noticed when I moved here, like in 2008, I hardly ever saw fireflies. Well, recently I've been seeing a ton of fireflies. This whole summer, just tons of them.
Interesting.
They're like all in the backyard. Like you could see them in our window while we're watching TV and the lights are off. You could see them like flashing around inside, like on the outside.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting.
That is so cool. It's also very interesting that you mentioned that. I just listened to a podcast episode the other day. The podcast Ologies with Allie Ward. She does them on all different things, and it's like learning things. And she did a whole episode. She interviewed like an expert on fireflies.
Okay.
And they were talking about like how there's so many different kinds, and how some, specifically Connecticut, she mentioned, how some parts of Connecticut have them and some don't, and they all look different, and it's wild. And like how it's imperceptible to the naked eye, but the length of their flash is important because they are looking for a mate, and so they want a mate that can do a longer flash, but it's like imperceptible to us when we see it, how long the flash actually is.
Oh, that is interesting. I know that like how fast they're flashing has to do with how hot or cold it is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's like, it was
That's
like if they're blinking a lot, then I think it's hotter, I think. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. But interesting enough, and I have no idea if this is correlated, but I'm going to say it is. So I did a journey, and one of the things that we've been doing lately is connecting to the spirit of the land. And the spirit of the land, when I went to go journey to them, told me I needed to beautify and work in our yard. Yeah. Because I think I talked about this before, is that the last like 5 years or so basically have neglected our yard. And part of it was like, missing, they said they were missing that like piece of us working with the yard. And so I did, and I like blessed it and everything and gave like offerings, and I'm like, I wonder if that has anything to do with it.
Yeah. Like message received. Yeah. Fireflies galore.
I like to think that is the correlation, but I have no idea.
I mean, I can see why you wouldn't like actually know if that is or isn't, but I'm gonna say that sounds, it makes sense. It sounds good, and it's nice to notice, and maybe that's what it is, like even just noticing now in a different way, noticing they're there because you're paying attention more to the land.
Maybe.
So
the other thing I've been seeing like all over the place are red cardinals, and I hardly ever see red cardinals, and I've been seeing them like everywhere lately.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I have seen them everywhere. Yeah. And I never see them. And I'm like, it's wild. Yeah. Everywhere I go.
I used to see the females periodically, but never like the actual red male ones. And I saw one today.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. All right. Well, if you're seeing them and I'm seeing them, I wonder how many other people are seeing them.
Yeah. No, I definitely. I also think that there's something up with like, not that there's something up, but I'm paying attention more to birds in general. I
Mm.
find that I generally pay attention to like, hey, am I hearing them? Am I not? And like typically around like weather.
Mm.
What does that tell me about the weather? That's usually what I'm looking for. But I've been visiting the cemetery a lot more than I normally do, and
Mm.
I've been hearing different bird sounds than I'm used to. Like in general, never mind just in the cemetery, but like in general, bird sounds that I don't
Hmm.
typically hear. And I'm like, what is that? I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So,
That is interesting because you're saying that. And this year I've been noticing different types of birds than I used to see. Because again, we grew up in Ohio, and I remember seeing like lots of different types of songbirds. And
yeah.
here, I feel like I only ever see like robins
Yeah.
or like maybe some chickadees, and that's
Hmm.
kind of it. And I feel like I've been seeing like
Hmm.
orioles, and I've been seeing like I don't know all the names of them, but like just different kinds that I don't
Yeah.
normally like. I saw an actual not the blue jay, but a blue bird. Like
Okay.
there's two different. There's a blue jay and then there's bluebirds, and I saw a
Yeah.
bluebird, which I don't see very
Yeah.
often. So I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to kind of notice those things too. And whether it means anything or not, I think it's just an interesting observation to make. And maybe it does mean something and you got to pay attention.
I don't know. Think about it, but there's also like the meme that says like as you get like the
Yeah.
midlife
Yeah.
starter pack is like you get the you're now a bird watcher.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've seen that around too. And it's like, for me, Mike has always, always, always been into birds of prey. So he's always looking up, and it's weird because for him it's hawks, and he can spot them from like the furthest point away. He can see what they're doing. He has watched hawks grab other birds out of the air and eat them more times than I think is normal for a person.
Probably because I don't think I've ever seen that.
Like to the point where I think it was last week. It was last week or the week before. He came home and he's like, "You'll never guess what happened today. He's a mechanic. I was in a car doing a test drive, and a bird hit the car and a hawk came and grabbed the bird." Like basically he had the windows down. It almost came into the car. I was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
That is wild. That is wild.
Yeah. I mean, I think hawks and him are somehow connected, but
I was just gonna say that. Like maybe it's his spirit animal or something.
yeah.
His power
But
animal.
because he's always been into them, like I've noticed birds for as long as we've been together, 22 years or something. So it's not like that's new, but it is a little bit new in what I'm seeing. So yeah, maybe there's something up.
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting. We'll have to report back.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. Alrighty, so today we are talking about the Dark Night of the Soul. And I know if you kind of do any of this sort of work that the Dark Night of the Soul is something that often pops up.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. I don't think it's, and maybe it is something that I heard before getting into the spiritual world, but I don't think so. Cause I was kind of like, what is the Dark Night of the Soul when I first heard it?
Yeah.
Did
I
you?
know we briefly touched on this, like one of our early episodes, and we didn't get too much into it, but I don't think that prior to this work, I had heard that terminology before. And then once I heard it, I didn't even know really like what it was. And I was like, is that something I've experienced? I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And then knowing what it is, and then like, okay, yeah, and accepting, okay, yeah, I think I went through that, but not actually doing any sort of like real work into what it was, is another thing. So
yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. So oftentimes you kind of hear of it as like this dark time or this hard time that you went through, but it's much more than that. You know, for about 4 years, I went through what I would probably describe as a dark night, but I was kind of wrestling with even that after I did this research. So the Oxford Dictionary which Did you even know the Oxford Dictionary is even around anymore? You can Google stuff on Oxford Dictionary. Anyway, the Oxford Dictionary defines the dark night of the soul as a period of spiritual desolation suffered by a mystic in which all sense of consolation is removed. It is derived from Spanish, Noche Oscura, and it was first introduced in the title of a poem by the mystic Saint John of the Cross.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of what I found was like kind of reference back to that being the first time it was used, and it's from a more Christian view. But it's called The Dark Night of the Soul, and it's by John of the Cross. So I'm gonna read it. I was debating, but I'm gonna read it, so bear with me. In a dark night, with anxious love inflamed, oh happy lot, forth unobserved I went, my house being now at rest. In darkness and in safety, by the secret ladder disguised, oh happy lot, in darkness and concealment, my house being now at rest. In that happy night, in secret seen of none, seeing not myself, without other light or guide, save that which is my heart was burning. The light guided me more surely than the noonday sun, to the place where he was waiting for me, whom I knew well, and where none appeared. O guiding night, O night more lovely than the dawn, O night that hast united the lover with his beloved, and changed her into her love. On my flowery bosom, kept whole for him alone, there he reposed and slept, and I cherished him, and the waving of the cedars fanned him. His as his hair floated in the breeze, that from the turret blew, he struck me on the neck with his gentle hand, and as all sensation left me, I continued in oblivion lost. My head was resting on my love, lost to all things and myself, and amid the lilies forgotten, threw all my cares away. So.
Okay. So the poem is, for me, hearing it, sounded very darkly comforting. Like this, almost like this tragedy is unfolding, but there's comfort there. Connection and spirituality and all of that combined. Not what I would associate Dark Night of the Soul with.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think there's ways of like interpreting his poem, but I think I get where people are kind of associating it together, whereas like he was upset about something, and so he ended up into the darkness, and God was leading him through it, and when he finally got through it, God was there. It's kind of what very short amount of interpretation I think there is.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So doing this research, I saw there were sort of two ends of the spectrum as to what the Dark Night of the Soul is. And one end is it can be a period of significant challenge, dark mood that makes you lose sight of who you are and what you stand for. And this can be brought on by a traumatic event or loss that throws you into this period of darkness. And the other side is it's not associated with any trauma, and it could be anything, even a minor incident, and you just find yourself in this time of darkness feeling lost and questioning.
Hey friends, we just wanted to take a moment to remind you all that you can interact with us on social media. We can be found at Curious Mystics Podcast on all platforms.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share so that we can keep showing up for you guys with new weekly episodes and content. Thank you for hanging out with us so far, and stay curious.
So is it like either or is there like one that's more accepted or more used?
Good question. And I was kind of seeing both sides. Like a lot of people
Okay.
were like, no, it's not associated with trauma, because if it's associated with trauma and like you're feeling depressed and all these different things, that's depression. Dark night of the soul is not connected with anything and you don't know why you feel this way.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. I think sometimes though those things can be like conflated. Like depression doesn't always have a reason either.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes maybe that's, unless that's what they're saying, like if you're maybe experiencing depression but you don't have, context around that, then maybe it's truly a dark night of the soul and not depression.
Right. Yeah, I think that's kind of what they're saying.
Okay.
But both of those beliefs do agree that it's a time of shedding what no longer serves you or anything that's holding you back. And it's a time of reflection and transformation.
Okay.
So I think that is where they're getting the definition of a dark night of the soul, is that regardless of whether it was started by a traumatic event or crisis, or whether it's just something that came out of nowhere, it's the point of it is to have this transformation and shedding of things. And that's partially why you feel that way, this turmoil, is because you're starting to have all this change in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what marks the dark night of soul. Whereas depression, you're sitting in it and there isn't really any change.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and often this will end with a spiritual awakening or a clarity of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be the reflection on the transformation or the shadow or ego that starts the dark night.
Okay.
Yeah. So then there's a very Christian aspect of it. And this is made by the case that it's a test by God, where in order to become closer to him, you need to go through a period where you can't see him at all and where you lose faith and you can't feel him and you're in this darkness, you're in this fog, and you're just tramping through it. And you basically have to kind of dismantle yourself and your soul in order to finally come out the other side. And when you come through it, then you're closer to God.
All right.
And
I don't know that I ever heard like that piece of it all.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that I saw were saying that this is more for saints. This is more where people who are close to sainthood or are saints, this is more their challenge. Like this is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's reserved, what I'm trying to say. It's reserved for these type of people that end up near sainthood or sainted.
Okay.
Which I bet that is a thing, but I feel like it doesn't have to be that much. I feel like a general person who's not going to be sainted can still go through this and still have an awakening and still have a transformation and still become closer to spirit.
Yeah.
You know?
I think maybe then we might be talking about whether or not does the terminology apply? Does it look different or anything like that? But I would argue that many people experience that when coming to spirituality, unless they have always had spirituality or religion or faith in their lives from start to finish or from start to whenever. If it's always been there, then those people may not be experiencing this. But everyone else who doesn't have it at some point and then does will be going through something like that, where it's like, hey, I'm having some sort of awakening. And typically we don't get there just because we wake up one happy day and are like, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to start practicing spirituality or faith or whatever. Like usually there's something that prompts that.
Right, exactly. It's usually like, again, that reflection, that transformation, like you're looking for something different than you already have. So, we've talked about this several times for me. I went through like a 4-year period of like a series of traumatic events, and I was depressed, and there was lots of overwhelm, and there was like survival mode, and all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, I was clinically depressed and had anxiety, but in order to get out of that feeling is when I started to go searching for ways to come out of it. And that's when I was kind of hit with this awakening. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, well, did I go through a dark night of the soul, or is it more just that I had depression and I came out of it? What do you think? Like, have you been through something like this?
I mean, I think I have been through something like this. I think in the context of religiousness, no, because I am not religious. So that piece of it, if you think, does this apply to me? Does it apply to me in this context, is something that maybe you should consider. But I think you've been through some shit. I've been through some shit, and
Yeah.
we came out of that. So
Right.
yeah, I would say that applies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the definitions that I found was like depression is a clinical condition that affects mood, energy, motivation, sleep, appetite, and the ability to feel pleasure. And then it often needs mental health support, therapy, and sometimes medication. And it can feel like a gray fog, a loss of vitality, and disconnection from life. Whereas the dark night of the soul is more existential. It's a loss of spiritual meaning, a crumbling of identity, a soul deep emptiness, and you might feel abandoned by spirit, disconnected from your purpose, and unsure of who you're becoming.
Yeah,
I feel like that was everything. Like, I feel like both.
Yeah. I mean, I think there can absolutely be an overlap in those things, especially if we're talking about different levels of depression. There are people who are functional and get through their day-to-day but are still depressed. There are people who are not. There are people who are impacted in other ways. And there are people who do lose their sense of purpose, their sense of identity, the meaning of life. Like, what's the point? That conversation I have at least once a week with people. What's the point?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there can be an overlap. They don't have to overlap, but there can be. And I think if you are experiencing something that you think resonates with this, then that's what it is. You're coming to some conclusion at the point where it's like, yeah, maybe this is an awakening. Maybe this is leading me towards something. Maybe this is where I start to, sometimes not even on purpose. Some people are like, I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to turn to spirituality and let's see what happens. And all of a sudden it clicks. Like, it's not always this perfectly timed out and orchestrated event.
Yeah. I feel that's kind of how it happened for me. I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like, I feel like absolute crap, and I need to not feel this way anymore. Yeah. I just want to not feel it, not feel this way. And, that way. And then I went to get it off of me, and it, boom, spirit hit me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's so, it was hard to do this because, like I said, I found a lot of, it from the Christian aspect. And it was very much like a time where you are away from God and you lose all faith, and you step away from the church, you step away from God, and you just are kind of like wandering through life lost. And I was like, okay, I could see how that could be for some people. But at the same time, I feel like it's, even, like you said, even if it wasn't a major crisis, something has to get you to start to think differently than you are and want to do research. Like, if you're all fine and dandy and life is great, you're not going to want to question.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I do. I agree with that very much. And I think even within, I don't know much about other religions. I grew up in a Protestant household. So that's like really my understanding of religion goes to that extent. But I've seen different like TV shows or movies or documentaries or things where like the Jewish faith comes up. And what I have noticed, and I don't know if this is something that they experience in daily life, but what I have noticed is that there can be a much more open conversation about questions about religion, about faith, about growth, about process, about all of that in a way where it's like, yeah, let's have this conversation. So from that perspective, even that can help a person grow to be like, you know what, maybe I am still religious, I still practice this faith, but I viewed it from this lens and now I view it from this lens. And so it means something a little bit different to me. So in that sense, it's not necessarily that like something major happened to them and caused this change, but just the nature of being able to ask questions. Whereas in other spaces, you may not be as supported in asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you get to that point? Usually by finding yourself up against something uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't like the way this is. I don't agree with the way this is. I don't know why this is this way. Let me question it. Or something major happens and it rocks your world.
Right.
And I think for me personally, I've probably had a handful of moments where something major has happened and rocked my world. And through those moments, I adamantly stayed away from spirituality. I was like, no, I don't, because I was coming from the lens of religion.
Right.
So I was like, nope, I don't want to go there. I'm going to stay in my lane, whatever. And then I got to that point where my life felt like it was crumbling around me and everything was just going wrong. And I was like, oh, maybe this is an area to explore.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I think I'm trying to think how to phrase this, because there's religion and then there's spirituality, and sometimes religion can be spiritual and sometimes it cannot be. And yeah, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but I think part of what could be happening whenever I'm seeing this stuff online about like falling away from God is, like you said, it's someone starting from a religious background and then they start questioning, and so they fall away because they don't either like the answers that they're getting or don't understand the answers that they're getting, or don't believe, whatever the situation is, or it's making them completely rethink everything that they learned. Yeah. And so that's where they can't feel God because they don't know how to feel God, not in a religious sense.
Yeah.
And looking back, I haven't really thought about this in a long time because I was very Catholic growing up until I went to college, and I took a theology class. And the theology class was like, oh, everything, like, everything's connected. Like, all the religions are all connected. They're all based off of each other. And I was like, okay. I don't know that I had like an existential crisis about it, but it just made me really think about it, and I kind of stopped going to church. And then actually a couple of years before I went through this whole thing with everything that happened, I was looking to kind of maybe go back to church because I was looking for like that spiritual connection, but like church wasn't it. And I immediately was like, yep, church is not it, but I wanted that spiritual connection. Yeah. And then this all happened, like all the crap happened, and then it kind of thrust me into this. So,
yeah,
interesting. But if you're not
a big, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and if you're not coming from like a religious background, you could still have something like this, but it's gonna come from questioning something, like you said, being up against something uncomfortable, or just questioning existence in general, because as you get older that happens, whatever the situation is.
Yeah, I mean, you get to a place somehow. At some point, you get there. Not everybody gets there, but when you do, for whoever does, that's when the lights kind of switch for you. Maybe they were super bright fluorescent lights before, and now they're nice dim mood lights, or maybe you can see things from a different angle or a different perspective, or everything that you thought was now isn't, and so there's a totally different set of values and beliefs and understanding. And so it can be very, very individual, but there's something that gets you to that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know?
So one thing I found says, like, 18 ways you know that you're in a dark night of the soul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you're confused because you feel like you should be happy right now, but you're not.
Dang.
Yeah. So like what you're seeing externally isn't really feeling right internally.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like a little disillusioned with your outside world.
Yeah.
You start to have purge symptoms, meaning like you want to be healthier, you want to you start to have like chills and heaviness or lightness, you're sweating more, you're decluttering your home, you're decluttering your social life.
That's interesting that one is like in multiple senses. It's not just like a purge symptoms in an external sense, like your environment, but also like what you're physically going through.
And I will tell you, looking back, definitely went through that like last April, not this most recent April, a year ago, when I was sick. I had rashes, I had tons of stomach stuff, and all that inflammation.
Yeah,
like I was going through it.
I remember. Yeah.
So I'm like, I was having hot flashes, night sweats. Like I don't have those anymore. I don't have any of those things anymore. So,
yeah.
Like I thought I was going through perimenopause, and now I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, I might be, but not like that.
No, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very weird. So I kind of think that was happening. I was purging. You feel overwhelmingly stuck or lost. So like you start to like recognize your limitations in yourself, like physically and emotionally, and then also like environmentally.
Yeah.
So you begin to desire to impress less people and to connect with them more.
Okay.
So
yeah,
valuing connection versus what people think of you. You begin to resonate with Eastern philosophies of spirituality.
Interesting.
The fear-based system in which you beg for mercy just isn't cutting it anymore. Instead, you're interested in learning how to harness your mind and awaken to your own power for your own healing and for other people's healings.
Okay.
I see that. You're having random and intense memories and dreams of past partners, forgotten childhood experiences, etc. So.
Very much.
Yeah, you've had that one?
Yeah. Too much, I think. But
you're like, I'm over it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I get it. You're like, I get it. Like, I see you. I remember you. Let's move on.
Yeah. Like, let's not have the same dream we've had every night for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would not be fun. You're radically rethinking your ideas of success. And totally get this one.
Yes, 1,000,000%. It's like values change.
Yep. You begin realizing that you don't really want fame or like ton of money. You're just relying on the idea that it is that's not what you need. It's more like if it comes to you through the abundance of things, then that happens. But it's not like the grind. It's not like the, what is it? What's the culture called? What am I thinking? Not grind culture. Hustle culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we don't need hustle culture. You're discovering your inner child again. Like you are playing games and you're making art and
Mhm.
just being sillier than usual, or just enjoying things in a more childlike level.
Yes. Oh my goodness, it's so freeing sometimes to enjoy something just to enjoy it and not have to have, like something come of it. It doesn't have to be for means to an end. It doesn't have to be productive. It doesn't have to be for a reason. It's like, no, I just liked that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like when we were talking about the fireflies this morning, or this when we first
Yeah.
started. The other day, I ran outside. I'm like, chit, let's go watch the fireflies. And I'm like, just stood out
Yeah.
on the porch. Was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, this is nice.
Like, this is amazing.
It's so cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
You're starting to understand that people are talking about when they say we're all socially conditioned, living disingenuous lives, and are subtly addicted to our problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
1,000,000%.
Yep. You have frightening, irrational thoughts, sometimes even along the lines of, I'm dying.
I haven't had that.
No, me neither. I mean, I was sad and lost, but I wouldn't say I felt like I was dying. You begin to recognize and feel what true suffering is. So when you really suffer, you become able to empathize with what actual pain is. So like you used to be able to watch movies and like war scenes and dying siblings and whatever, and it was sad, but like it didn't like hit you. And now it's like you're actually like feeling those emotions. So
the switch that happened with me where I could watch anything or talk about anything or do anything and be perfectly fine with it and like hold space, right? But be okay with it. And now if I have the hint that something traumatic or sad is going to like pop up in this TV show, I'm bawling. Like, oh my God, I can't. That dog hasn't even crossed the street yet, but I can see it coming. No.
It's gonna be bad. Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
goodness.
I've been a crier for a while, but like lately being completely overwhelmed by that emotion.
Yeah.
Of watching whatever it was. I forget what we were watching the other day, and I just was sobbing uncontrollably of something that happened. Like I just couldn't get over it in the movie. And I was just like, it was after it ended, I just kept, it was like, ugh. Yeah. Because I was just so like, I could feel it like viscerally.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily need to feel that way all the time. Yeah. I'm good. But I feel like I also have been an empathetic person kind of always, just maybe just a little bit more aggressively. I don't know. And then at first, this revelation of true suffering is overwhelming, but it won't be for long. So we get over it, apparently. Because you eventually figure out what your role is in helping and healing. So.
Yeah.
Your sleeping habits are irregular. You're hungrier than usual, or not hungry at all. You're sometimes so overwhelmed by emotion that you feel like you can't function.
Yeah, I think for all of those, that's probably part of the reason why, personally, I focus so much on balance. Because, like, when I'm talking to someone who feels like they're out of control, at work or not, like in any scenario, if I'm talking to a loved one and they're like, yeah, everything's unmanageable, I tend to say, like, let's bring it back to basics. Are your basics covered? Have you eaten a nutritious meal at some point in the past 3 days? Have you hydrated? Have you gotten enough sleep? Like, let's bring those things back into focus and try to manage.
Yeah, when you're like having an existential crisis, it's hard to get remember to do these things. Coincidences begin piling up. Yeah.
Yes, except we know that there are no coincidences.
Right, so. Exactly. Yeah, the synchronicities abound.
Absolutely.
You're getting the feeling as though you just need to be still. So, for example, like if you moved around a lot in the past months or years, you're getting the initiative to nudge that you need to kind of like not be moving, stop running away from things.
I have felt that one hardcore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're becoming conscious of how your mind has been operating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I 100%.
Gaining some insight. Yeah.
Yeah. Then kind of like reading all the, I guess you would call them self-help books, like this letting go book and the, yeah, I guess like the quantum physics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You discover your doormat healing capabilities. Oh, you're dormant. I'm like, what?
Okay.
I thought saying like, oh, you're not a doormat anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that caught me off a little bit.
You discover your dormant healing capabilities.
Okay.
Most people who go through spiritual awakenings tend to have inherent gifts they don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like your life is asking, will you commit every day of the rest of your life to healing? I guess that's saying, like, are you healing yourself to healing others? Like,
yeah.
And I don't know that, like, the wording of that 100% resonates, but, like, I think the fact that, like, I want to feel this way and continue to grow and continue to heal myself and, you know, bring others along with me if I can. So.
Yeah, I agree. Again, with like the terminology of it or the way that it's worded, but also recognizing that sometimes healing doesn't always look like the same every single day, or doesn't always look like linear, or doesn't always look like, you know, this way. Maybe sometimes that means resting, sometimes that means reflecting, sometimes that, like, it could mean different things. So
and realizing that every time you, not maybe every time, but oftentimes when you heal one layer, you're going to peel back another. Because we're not just one little, like, container of a person. We've got lots. We're like onions. We have layers. And yeah, so it's always gonna be this constant, like, healing, but potentially it heals faster because you know how to do it.
Right.
Maybe not. There is the idea that you could go through more than one dark night of the soul in your lifetime. Again, because you peel back another layer, or you go through another crisis, or like something else happens, and then you rethink and retransform yourself all over again.
Yeah, and I think because we have so many different experiences going on, and we're constantly changing and evolving, that it can shift what our original understanding or thought process was of what our purpose is, or what we align with, or what we connect to, or what we need to be putting our energy into. We may, like, essentially accomplish that to the degree that we need to or want to, and then move on to something else. Or have to revisit it. You and I talked before about, like, you know, having experiences that pop up and we kind of, like, shut it down. No, that's not real. That's not happening. I'm not putting energy into that. And so I'm going to shut it down. And then it comes back up later and it's like, okay, I guess I have to look at it.
I feel like if spirit wants you to do something about it, it will come back, and each time it will be louder and louder. And, like, first time I've been like, hey, you want to look at this? Like, and then the next time it's like, hey, the next time it's like knocking you in the head. Can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Why do you think that people often have a spiritual awakening after a dark night? And we've kind of talked about this before.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, gosh, I don't know that it would be possible. I think it would be really, really difficult for things to stay the same after a dark night. Like, for you to not make any changes, for you to not feel differently, to want differently, to put in effort differently after something so major happens, to just go back to status quo as it was. I would argue that wasn't necessarily then a dark night, that maybe that was whatever experience, but it wasn't your time to change
like
something.
a blip in the road. Yeah, I mean, I think if we're using the definition of where the Dark Night is this, like you said, catastrophic thing, pretty major traumatic and thing, then you then come out of it.
Yeah.
You have to, you have to be changed in some way. Now, are you necessarily going to have like a spiritual awakening? Maybe not.
Right.
But there has to be some sort of transformative experience. Otherwise, then maybe that's where the depression comes in. That's when the anxiety comes in, because you didn't change. You just got sucked up by the trauma, which might happen, and then eventually the change happens. But what do you think of that?
No, I agree with that. I think if you're getting stuck in it some way, then that could absolutely be like a depressive moment. Or, you know, in the case of trauma, if we're talking about trauma, like some PTSD symptoms pop up and it's like you are essentially changing, but you're adapting to how you need to in order to survive, and not necessarily transforming into, you know, this next phase, this next level, this next whatever, or incorporating some of that spiritual awakening.
Right. I think there also is a little bit, we can link it back to energy and vibration. So I keep referencing this book, the book Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. So he's talking about how when we make it through a crisis, we have more self-esteem and confidence. And especially if we made through it, especially if we worked through it and we changed some things. And each emotion and feeling has a vibration, whether high, low, and it's on a scale. So confidence and self-esteem starts you into a higher vibration. And when you have these higher frequencies, you raise that vibration and things start to become clearer, and we are more attuned to being in spirit because our vibration rises with each kind of like leveling up. And the higher and the freer the higher and freer we feel, then we can have a growth of consciousness and be closer to spirit.
Yeah. I could see that. I think kind of that's like the goal for so many people, is to get to that point. And, you know, when you can do it and see the results, you can feel the difference, you can recognize the connection in a different way, that helps to kind of promote you to keep doing it. But it's that initial, like, can I even get from here to there at first? Sometimes that can be like a challenge for people to see, especially in a time when we get things so like instant gratification and super easy access, and, you know, we can change things so easily. So this takes a little bit more work, and then that becomes the goal.
Yeah, I think I kind of jokingly said in a past episode, is it that like you're in all this turmoil, so like it sends a beacon out to the spirits to kind of come help you. And yes, but no, it's because you're slowly raising your vibration, so therefore it just kind of can then come to you. So
yeah,
my own growth of my own thoughts over the podcast months.
yeah.
So do you think that someone can go through a dark night of the soul without knowing it? And what would you say to someone who you think is in the thick of it? Having gone through it yourself, like recognizing for that person.
If they are in the middle of it, they may not know that that's what's happening. Because I think you wouldn't know that's what's happening until you're through it, until after, and you can see what comes after. Where does that lead you? Because if you go through something major and then nothing changes, or things change but not necessarily in a positive, or no, I'm not going to say positive, and not necessarily in a connection or spiritual way, then that may not have been a dark night, or you may not realize that was a dark night. So I think people can go through it and not realize it while they're going through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty hard to ignore when you start to find the connection and make the changes in a spiritual way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're at that point, then you're going to know you're at that point, even if you don't have the terminology. I know I went through something and I know I'm in a different place now. As far as being with someone, talking them through it, supporting them through it, that sort of thing, I don't know that I would say anything or intervene in any way other than to just be there if they want or need.
Mm-hmm.
I can sit here with you while you go through this terrible stuff. I can't change it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to, because if I change it for you, that can change what the outcome is, and I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you that they're not going to know. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, how would you know? I don't know how you would know that you were in a dark night until you start to have that transformative period.
Yeah.
And I think at that point,
Mm-hmm.
if someone came to me, which, I mean, we kind of did this to each other, if someone came to me and said, I'm having these experiences, I'm feeling this transformation, I'm feeling this connection,
Mm-hmm.
then I think then I would start to kind of talk to them about, this might be what's happening. Like, you know, what are you feeling? Like, these are some resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's kind of the whole point of this podcast too, is if you are feeling this way.
Yeah.
If you have
something
questions.
led you to looking this up, so
exactly,
to listening, to being at this moment, so
exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe, I don't know if it's like social media or like talking to other people, but the idea might be that like you have to have like these, you know, mystical visions and lightning bolts and like everything, and just like spirit comes to you out of nowhere. It's just like this whoa moment. I don't think that's how it works for, I mean, right, for somebody, but I feel like it can come in spurts, and it can come in, you know, hints here and there. Like I said, you're gonna get a hint here and there, and if you kind of don't listen to it, it's gonna come back around at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good chunk of information to like ponder about, because like you and I have had versions of this conversation before, but not necessarily in this way. And being able now at this point to reflect back on what I think I experienced and say, at the time, I had no idea what it was. Shortly after, when we started to talk about this, I was like, yeah, maybe that was a dark night, but was it really? And now I'm like, no, that was it. That was it for me. I could definitely see that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not in that context of like religion, because I'm not religious, but
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see how that was the time in my life that led to opening this door, these opportunities, this perspective, and for me finding myself in ways that I hadn't known before.
Yeah, I mean, I am pretty 99% sure what I went through is a dark night. I mean, I don't have another definition in my own head about it. It was just when I started kind of reading some of these definitions where some of them were like, well, no, like it's just depression. And then I was kind of like, well, like, I feel like you can have both. It's just kind of what happens like during and afterwards that makes it the dark night. So, yeah.
I also think, and I'm just going to throw this out there. But I also think the perspective that I take for the work that I do is that diagnoses are, they're lame. I don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like to put diagnoses on people. I don't like labeling them in ways and putting them in boxes, because some of the things that people experience could be cultural. It could be very much warranted for the situations that they're in. It could be, you know, any number of things. And depression in particular, sometimes you can look at a person and say, I can see all the reasons why you'd be depressed. And other times you could look at a person and be like, there's no reason for you to be depressed. And it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're not experiencing what they're experiencing. That also doesn't mean that they need to have this sort of label. the
Right.
purpose of that is for insurance and for treatment and for blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But
Mhm.
like from a holistic perspective,
Right.
diagnoses are they're lame.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, so you don't need a dark night of the soul in order to have gone through a dark night of the soul, or the
Right.
definition of a dark night of the soul to have gone through it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that that's just like if you are experiencing it, then you're experiencing it and you get to decide whether or not that was impactful for you and if it made that sort of transformation or difference. Maybe that makes it a little bit easier to talk about if you're talking with other people or to explain to other people or for other people to understand. But I mean, what do they need to? Why?
Yeah.
You know, you're the one who's living it. So, yeah.
And I do want to say that I greatly appreciate you that we've been able to walk through this together and, you know, kind of piece together what happened and what we're doing. And, you know, we've been able to do this together. So it's made it so much more enjoyable. And
I feel the same about you. And I know we've talked about that before, but yeah, it always is like refreshing and helpful to have somebody to connect with in all of this. So,
well, thank you. So to that, if anybody's listening to this and they think that they are going through a dark night of soul or came out of one and kind of feeling, now what do I do? Or like, you know, whatever, you know, one, we see you, we got you, you know, even if you're going through it, you know, we're holding space for you if you want us to. And I highly recommend reaching out and finding a tribe somehow. You know, if you
absolutely,
you can email us if you have questions. But yeah. So I think it kind of helps if you can find a tribe of some sort of group, a coven, whatever you want, whatever words you want to use for that. So, but all right, well, that's all I got.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, stay
curious.
Bye.